From protecting civilians from criminals to becoming the criminal, some cops have been caught cheating their own jobs. The public's confidence in law enforcement is damaged by these dirty cops, which makes it more difficult for good police officers to carry out their duties efficiently. So, what are the worst crimes cops have committed? Get ready to be shocked after finding out what these dirty cops have done. First, let's discuss the story of Rafael Antonio Perez. Rafael was given a job of protecting the public by lawfully dismantling gangs. Instead, he and numerous other officers from the Rampart Division of the Los Angeles Police Department conned gang members out of drugs and cash, while also stealing and manipulating police evidence. When Perez joined the LAPD's Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums or Crash Anti-Gang Task Force, in 1995, he quickly developed a reputation as a tough cop who had a good understanding of the situations in the areas west of downtown Los Angeles that were within Rampart's jurisdiction. But by August 1998, he had been imprisoned for stealing cocaine worth $800,000 from an evidence room. And by the year 2000, he had entered into a plea agreement and accused 70 of his colleagues, crash officers, of misbehavior, ranging from ingesting alcohol while on the job to murder. The city was compelled to overturn 100 wrongful convictions and make $125 million in settlement payments as a result. So, how did Rafael Perez and his top gang fighting squad end up being held accountable for the largest police scandal in Los Angeles history? In response to a rise in the drug trade and associated gang violence, the LAPD established a specialist anti-gang task force called CRASH in 1979. The Rampart CRASH unit would represent the ideology of specialized police units that function almost independently. However, CRASH represented one front in a brutal conflict for police like Rafael Perez, who joined the task team in 1995. His reputation as a street-smart, tough cop eventually led to his transfer to Rampart Division's undercover drug team. Perez was given the duty of taking down the gangs, and both his demeanor and his ability to speak Spanish well complemented this role. Like many other young police officers, Perez experienced an adrenaline high when purchasing drugs from street vendors and reveled in his position of control. Perez thought he had discovered his niche and disregarded advice from a colleague that he loved working with drugs too much. He got involved in a lot of corrupt acts in the late 1990s, such as stealing cocaine from evidence lockers and profitably selling it. Additionally, he drugged suspects and lied in court to get them convicted. After Perez was caught stealing cocaine from the LAPD's evidence room in 1998, his activities were discovered. After being detained and accused of stealing drugs, he started working with the authorities right away in exchange for a lighter sentence. Due to Perez's assistance, a much wider LAPD police corruption scandal was uncovered. He disclosed that other crash unit officers had also engaged in criminal activity, such as fabricating evidence, robbing suspects of cash and drugs, and planting evidence. Intense pressure was placed on the LAPD as more police personnel were linked to the scam as the inquiry went on. The controversy prompted considerable adjustments to the department's rules and procedures, including the creation of new oversight structures to guarantee increased accountability and openness. It was one of the biggest police corruption scandals in American history and was dubbed the Rampart Scandal. Perez received a 5-year prison term for his involvement in the corruption case. He was nevertheless only imprisoned for 2 years before being freed and put in the witness protection program out of fear for his safety. Do you think Perez should have been let go after just 2 years? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Next, let's check out the criminal duo who were dubbed the Mafia Cops. Agents from the DEA and FBI conducted a raid on an Italian eatery off the Las Vegas Strip in 2005 on the basis of drug deal evidence acquired by a wired-up witness. They detained 2 middle-aged men. Both suspects were calmly taken into custody, one of whom had a pistol concealed in his waistband. Yet, the later unsealed indictment against the 2 men would undermine public trust in New York and bring shame on the country's largest police force. Detectives Louis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa of the NYPD's Organized Crime Homicide Unit were, in fact, hitmen for the mafia. In 1994, the first informant who could characterize two corrupt NYPD detectives working for the mafia came forward. Prisoned Lucchese underboss Anthony Gaspipe Casso claimed responsibility for hiring their services. After being apprehended in 1993 after being on the run, Casso made an effort to negotiate a plea agreement by naming people and claimed that Caracappa and Ippolito were his crystal ball for handling informants, rivals, and potential arrests. One witness, Kaplan, testified to the most horrific instances of the mob cops crossing the line, setting up Ippolito and Caracappa to personally murder or give over for the Lucchese family's murder targets through phony arrests and traffic stop. The two detectives received a monthly salary of $4,000 for giving Casso information about law enforcement. They were paid extra for killing jobs, including $70,000 for a hit on Gambino crime family leader Eddie Lino, who was thought to have been responsible for a botched assassination attempt on Casso. In April 2006, a Brooklyn federal court jury determined that the duo was accountable for 8 homicides, kidnappings, and other crimes. Ippolito was found guilty on 1 count of ERIC, conspiracy money laundering, drug distribution, and drug conspiracy. Caracappa was found guilty on 1 count of RICO conspiracy. Caracappa, along with Luis Ippolito, were sentenced to life in prison in 2009 for the 8 executions they committed between 1986 and 1991. Caracappa got an additional 80-year prison sentence and was issued $4.25 million in fine. The next case will shock you more. It's about the most crooked cop in NYPD history. Officer Michael Dowd testified with striking candor before a panel looking into corruption in the New York Police Department in late September 1993. In his testimony to the Mullen Commission, Mr. Dowd described his decade-long transformation from an honorable rookie in the violent 75th Precinct in East New York, Brooklyn, to what one federal agent termed a once-in-a-generation corrupt cop. When crack cocaine first hit the streets in 1982, Michael Dowd joined the New York Police Department. He was in charge of East New York's 75th Precinct, which had the second highest murder rate in the city, with more than 100 homicides annually. But Mike Dowd soon realized how lucrative the drug trade was in comparison to his $600 weekly paycheck. He first only took money from crime scenes. Yet, when his behavior was left unchecked, he started robbing drug dealers and doing his own drug peddling. By 1986, he had begun working for cocaine trafficker Adam Diaz, who earned $1 million weekly. Dowd was paid generously by Diaz to inform him of impending raids and transport his drugs throughout the city. Diaz wanted an insider to alert him to potential threats since he used East New York supermarkets as fronts for his profitable cocaine activities. He paid Dowd $24,000 and $8,000 weekly pay to buy him out. So, whose story do you think was the most notorious? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe.